How to offset the carbon footprint of flying. Air travel, although a relatively small industry, has a very negative impact on the global environment. In comparison to other modes of transportation, such as cars or trains, airplanes have the greatest climate impact per passenger kilometer. Planes produce a lot of carbon and are a major contributor to your annual carbon footprint. In order to offset the carbon footprint of flying, you can purchase a carbon offset. Although this is one way to help the environment, it is not enough. Individuals should also actively reduce their carbon footprint as well as offset it. As a result, consumers should make eco-friendly flying choices and reduce their annual air travel as much as possible. Method 1: Purchasing a carbon offset. 1. Book with an airline that offers carbon offsets. Quite a few major airlines, including Air Canada, Lufthansa, United Airlines, and Delta, offer passengers the option to voluntarily offset the carbon footprint of flying. When booking your next flight, choose an airline that offers to offset carbon emissions. Typically, these airlines will calculate the CO2 emissions of your trip and then charge a fee to remove that amount of carbon from the atmosphere. The money will be given to a third party who will either plant trees, invest in energy efficiencies, help to prevent deforestation, etc. Some airlines, such as United Airlines, will even allow customers to offset the carbon by using air miles. 2. Use a carbon offset calculator. If the airline you have chosen does not offer a voluntary carbon offset, you can still offset the emissions yourself by partnering with a company that specializes in carbon offsets. For example, you can use a carbon offset calculator to determine your personal carbon footprint as a result of the flight. The calculator will translate the CO2 emissions into a dollar amount that you can then donate to a carbon offset company. For example, climatecare.org will calculate CO2 emissions for air travel and allow you to donate money to offset the emissions. The site also offers the ability to offset your car, household, and business carbon footprints. 3. Determine the type of offset you want to purchase. There are a variety of different types of carbon offsets that you can purchase, and whether you are purchasing through an airline or independently, you will be given a choice. In order to choose the most effective way to offset your carbon, you will want to consider the type of offset. For instance, planting trees can help remove CO2 from the atmosphere, but they are not permanent and they do not address the global dependence on fossil fuels. Instead, you may want to invest in renewable energy research or energy efficiencies in developing countries. Make sure the offset is certified with a recognizable standard, such as the Gold Standard, CDM, or VCS. Method 2: Making eco-friendly flying choices. 1. Select an eco-friendly airline. Newer planes are often more fuel efficient, and as a result newer airlines often have lower carbon emissions. In order to compare the carbon emissions of different airlines, use Google's ITA Matrix software. Although the site was developed to find cheap flights, it also provides consumers with the carbon emissions for each flight. You can simply choose the airline with the lowest carbon emissions. 2. Combine trips. A great way to reduce the carbon emissions of air travel is by combining trips. If you are required to go to New York City for business, you could schedule multiple meetings in order to save trips. Alternatively, if you need to go to Shanghai for business, you could try extending your trip and adding some personal time. This way you can avoid revisiting the same place twice, once for business and once for pleasure. 3. Take direct flights. Take-offs and landings use the most fuel. As a result, you should always take the most direct route possible when traveling by air. Even though you may be able to find cheaper flights with layovers, you are actually increasing the carbon emissions significantly. 4. Fly in economy class. If you have to fly, make sure that you purchase economy class tickets. These seats are closer together, allowing more people to fit on each flight, ultimately reducing the carbon emissions per passenger. This also means that you should avoid flying on private planes, which only transport a few people, but still burn a lot of fuel. Similarly, you should avoid any unnecessary air travel, such as a helicopter ride while on vacation. Method 3: Reducing air travel. 1. Find other means of transportation. Flying is often considered more convenient because you can travel vast distances in a fairly short period of time. Before you take your next flight, consider if there are other modes of transportation available. Taking a train, bus, or car can reduce carbon emissions considerably and is ideal when traveling over shorter distances. For example, opt to take a train if you are traveling from London to Paris. 2. Vacation close to home. One way to reduce carbon emissions is by traveling close to home. Many people from around the world likely vacation to an area near you. Look into regional destinations when planning your next vacation. For example, if you live in Toronto, try vacationing to Northern Ontario and take advantage of the outdoor activities available. Similarly, if you live in San Francisco, vacation in the surrounding wine region. 3. Use video conferences for meetings. Businesses can also reduce costs and consequently carbon emissions by using video conferencing for meetings. Rather than flying employees across the country for a meeting, hold a video conference. This will save the company money and will help to reduce carbon emissions. Video platforms such as Skype and FaceTime can allow you to communicate with friends, family, and business associates as if you were in the same room. Method 4: Reducing your carbon footprint overall. 1. Drive less or carpool. Although this will not offset the carbon emissions of an entire flight, you can take steps to reduce your carbon footprint in other areas of your life. This is a great idea for people who are required to fly. For instance, you could drive less frequently or carpool whenever necessary. One way to reduce your car-based emissions would be to ask your employer if you can work from home one day each week. This can help to decrease your carbon footprint and offset emissions related to flying. 2. Use energy-efficient light bulbs. Install energy-efficient light bulbs throughout your household. These bulbs will reduce your household carbon footprint and can help to offset the emissions associated with flying. Not only will you be reducing your carbon footprint, but LED lights can save you approximately 90% of your lighting costs. 3. Hang, dry your laundry. Drying clothes using a tumble dryer uses a lot of energy. You can reduce your carbon footprint and help to offset flights by hanging clothes to dry. Set up a clothesline in your yard or house and hang dry your wash. For a family of 4, this can actually save about 153 kilograms of CO2 per year, assuming you do approximately 150 cycles of wash year. 4. Eat local foods. Purchase local meats, fruits, and vegetables in order to help reduce your carbon footprint and offset the CO2 emissions of flying. Instead of getting all of your groceries at a supermarket, try shopping at roadside stands, local butchers, farmers markets, or pay particular attention to food labels to ensure they are locally sourced. This can significantly cut the carbon costs associated with transporting foods vast distances. Tips. Contact your federal government representative and ask them to support regulations on airline emissions. In the current model, carbon offsets are voluntarily placed on the consumer. Stronger regulations would force airlines to offset emissions themselves.